It's okay. It tells me the meeting is being live streamed.
Yes, and we are live now. Stand by.
It tells me the meeting is being live streamed.
We are being live streamed now. Stand by 1 second. Stand by.
It tells me the meeting is being live streamed.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi. Good evening. Welcome.
I have to turn my volume down on my end. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. We're about an hour behind schedule because of technical difficulties, but we were very persistent
Persistent.
with making this live show this evening. So thank you.
Yes.
Tonight's show it was something that Swany and I put together. We very impromptu show, but we've within the past, I will probably say the past 48 to 72 hours, we've had some ups and downs. So I have had the opportunity to kind of uh, go into a bit of deep thought to really assess basically what it takes for a relationship, especially a long distance relationship, to thrive. So it's all about ups
Okay.
and downs, smiles and frowns. So I actually had a Rumble platform set up that was going to show a lot of graphics and interactive dialogue. But if you look at my background behind me, you see the Joker and you see Harley Quinn. Now, um, Swanny and I had a discussion about this last night because she needed to understand exactly what that meant. So, those comic book fans that are out there know that Harley Quinn and the Joker have this love affair in which they love each other a lot, tremendously, but it's an up and down roller coaster type of relationship. And but at the end of the day, they love each other to death. So there's a lot of love between those two characters, but there's also some intricacies that are going on between them. Harley Quinn is a psychiatrist. The Joker is he's a villain, and she's trying to help him, and she ends up getting caught into this world that is that of the Joker. But the bottom line is that doesn't necessarily mean that it's Swanee and I, but it simply means that love conquers all. So I wanted to use this background to kind of show that love conquers all.
Yeah, I think it's a good choice. I think, ups and downs. It's really any relationship I think goes through this. You know, it's kind of like a roller coaster, and you're trying to adjust and adapt to the other person because at the end of the day, you really come from different backgrounds, and you're two individuals, and you meet up at this meeting point, and it's going to take a lot of adjustment, and with the love that you have for each other, and that's what's going to make that work.
Absolutely, I agree with you 100%. And so, with that being said, again, we're about an hour late, but we put a lot of work into this show, believe it or not. I've been working on this show for probably about 6 hours. So, we're going to dive right into it. So, I have my take on what it takes to nurture and to be heavily involved in a dedicated relationship that may be um, long distance. But I have my take on it. Swanee has her take on it. But Swanee had a list of questions that she wanted to share with the audience using me to ask these questions. And we're going to
I
have an
can ask
interactive
too.
dialogue.
I
Well,
can
and we're
ask
going to have
you
an interactive,
too.
we're going to have an interactive dialogue. So let's dive into it. Let's dive into it. Again,
Sure.
ups and downs, smiles and frowns, long distance relationship show, but at the end of the day, love prevails. So let's dive into it.
Beautiful.
So one of your
Sure.
questions that you wanted to ask me was, what lessons have I learned from a long distance relationship? What lessons have I learned from a long distance relationship? Very good question. First of all, well, I know that you're going to give your take on it, and I'm actually going to work a couple of things here. So give me a second here, so that I can make sure I get the answers and the questions right. What lessons have I learned from a long distance relationship? The number one question that I've learned, number one question that I've learned from a long distance relationship is you absolutely 1000% have to listen to your partner. You have to listen to your partner.
Right.
Now, I am guilty of such, just like this Joker guy over my shoulder. You know, he thinks he has it all planned out, but at the end of the day, you have to listen to your significant other because your significant other, um, they are their own individual. They have their own mind. They have their own um, life. They have their own lifestyle. They have their own interaction with the people that are around them on a daily basis, which may not be you. So you have to listen to them because every day is a different day for each individual. No matter
Yes.
how trivial you think that might be, you have to listen to your significant other. So I think that the most important lesson for me in any relationship, whether it be long distance or local, you have to listen. That's my take on it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And that's very commendable because not everyone listens, but truly listen. You can just hear what the other person has to say, but you don't always listen and understand. I think listening is when you start understanding the other person. And I would say that for me, the lessons I learned are, well, the thing is that I'm still learning. The lessons are never done, and they're never over, and you always learn from your relationship, whether it's long distance or not, because we're ever changing. We always have this life that is continuous and with energy and with life, and especially when two people connect. So my lesson is to continue to learn and to adjust and to adapt, like I said before, and really to communicate the best way that I can. I find that communication is one of the most important aspect of a relationship.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, in the context of a long distance relationship, because I know that there are many people, many couples that are out there just like us, especially with the things that are happening on a global basis. Maybe you do not have the opportunity to see your significant other as often as you should. You and I have been involved and faced with such situations that things that are happening on a global basis. So certain airlines are not flying. Not only that, certain airlines are not flying. Certain which triggers an influx of rising prices to
Yeah.
travel, et cetera, et cetera. So we understand that. You and I understand that more than any other couple out there that's going through that. So my question for you is this, but allow me and to indulge myself. to answer the question before I ask you to answer the question.
Okay,
Because
let's hear.
this is this is a very question. So this is one of your questions that you posed to me. I'm going to answer it.
Okay.
Does distance really matter with a couple?
Right.
Um, I'm a I'm gonna say yes and no. I'm
Okay.
gonna say yes, it does matter because we as individuals desire the physical touch of our significant other. The idea of walking to the mall, the idea of walking through a park, the idea of traveling, the idea of partaking in special events and things that that we truly appreciate in life, holding hands and walking and attending um, family functions as a couple, it means something. It's very important. Does it really matter as a couple? The key word is really matter. It matters, but I'm going to bring you back to my scientific side of the house. Does distance matter as a couple? I'm going to bring you back to my scientific side of the house. My scientific side of the house comes from two aspects. I was in the military. I spent many years in the military, and many of those years were involved in deployments. I was in the U.S. Navy, and the U.S. Navy took us to areas of the country where there was conflicts, combat and conflicts. I was in the first Gulf War, etc. And um, not saying that I was in any type of relationships, but I knew that the number one thing that was important was to understand the loved ones that I left behind and to stay connected to those loved ones while I was out doing the job that I was trained and dedicated and had a duty to do.
Right.
So the objective was to go out and accomplish the mission and focus on the mission. And then after the mission was over, divert back to focusing on your family and your loved ones. So we're talking about distance. You're over there, the family's over there. Does it really matter in that context? No, it does not. It does not matter because your love for your significant other or your family is always there with you. It's always there in here. It's always there in here. The other point that I would like to make is this. And I want to revert back to a movie that was very inspired to watch. It was a very inspiring movie, and that was Interstellar. And you and I have
Right.
talked about this
Yeah.
before. And in the movie Interstellar, we had a group of individuals that were traveling across the galaxy, across the universe, to find a home for humanity. And one of the officers above the spacecraft, there was a dialogue that happened, and they were breaking down. Well, what the key word is what transcends space and time. Well, only a few things transcend space and time. What affects time? What affects time? The key word is time. Well, we know that speed affects time. We know that gravity affects time. But what transcends that? What lives even outside speed and gravity? That's love. Love
Love
is the only
transcends.
thing that
Yeah.
transcends space and time. So if you are away from your loved one as it equates to distance, you're never going to forget that person because that person lives in your heart and in your soul and in your mind, and you're always going to have that person on your mind and in your heart, and you're always going to fight your way back to that person no matter what. That is
Yes.
the love is the only thing that transcends distance. So when I say space, it equates to distance. When I say time, it equates to distance and time itself. But love transcends it all. So
Yeah,
with that being said, yes, it does matter, but in the grand scheme of things, it really does not matter.
yeah. Well, I join you on what you said, and I agree with that. And someone's presence, whether it's a family or a loved one or a spouse, is when you have someone in your heart, so that person, that presence is going to be transcending. It's going to be always there.
Right.
Now, with that being said, the distance sometimes make you think about that person even more because, well, they're not there physically. So you're going to think about all the things that you would like to do. Like you said, at the beginning, you have the trivial things that you do every day, your the family events or a walk in the park, or even something as random as going to the supermarket. But and that's important, because you, again, that presence becomes physical, so you always have someone with you. But like you said, you have to be on a mission, and the mission is um to think about how you can make that distance less not important, but less present in your life. If that makes sense. I mean,
Perfect.
I think we come to the question of like um, about the goals that you have with your person, and how to make that distance become less of a distance in a way.
Right. Right. Right.
And
Right.
that's important, I think, in a long distance relationship, is to have these projects and these goals together, and to say, we're not going to be in that, uh in that state for a long time, or for whatever time it is going to be, and we're going to have that goal together to eventually be together, and end that distance. There's always that thought that distance is not going to continue,
Right. Absolutely.
hopefully.
Well, the key word is hope.
Yes, yes,
Key word is hope, and we always keep hope, alive in that aspect. And I know that I do. So hope, hope.
absolutely, yes. And that's very important. And I think in a long-term relationship is to have that people are on the same page, and you working together for the same end game in a way.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
you asked me a question, and I had to like pump the brakes. I had to put the brakes on pause, and I had to really do a lot of heartfelt thinking regarding this question. Now, it wasn't hard for me. It was, how do I put this question into proper context so that I can properly articulate this question to you and to our audience. And
Okay.
so I had to pivot. Our previous format didn't work out like I wanted
Mm.
it to. But I'm going to read your number four question, and I'm going to give you my answer to your number four question. But it may be a little bit drawn out because I had to,
Okay.
because it wasn't as simple as just seeing one sentence. So your question was, what are the guidelines to keep a healthy and strong relationship to your, let me expand this,
In your opinion.
in in your opinion. So I
Yes.
rephrase, let me repeat that question. The question read,
Okay.
what are the guidelines to keep a healthy and strong relationship in your opinion? Now, I'm doing some switching here on the Zoom platform. So I've got full screen, dual screen, full screen, dual screen. I'm working both. But I want to do a dual screen with you side by side as I explain this what I came up with. So that's already in play, but let me share my screen with you as well.
Yeah.
So let me know if you can see my screen.
Just a minute. I do. Yes. Oh wow. You
So
really you really prepared something really
no,
wow.
well, actually, it's quite simplistic. So allow me to explain. Let me hide this extra stuff here. So the question that you asked was that, and I coined the term in order to have
3D.
a set of guidelines to keep a healthy and strong relationship, you must have 3D vision. You must have
Okay.
3D vision. Now,
Yeah.
what does that mean, Michael? What does 3D vision mean? It
Yeah, what
means
does it mean?
you have to have, number one, the desire. Now, let me break it down for you, okay? For our audience, for you, for our audience, and for the world. In order to have a relationship, you must have a desire to want that. You must have a desire in your heart to say to yourself, not to anyone else, but to yourself that you want a meaningful relationship. Now,
Okay.
I think that I've explained to you before, and I'll explain to you again, that I think that everyone well, I'll put it this way. One of our great musical artists, Bobby Womack, said, everybody needs something or someone to love. And that is a whole fact. We all need we as humans all need something to love. That gives us purpose. So you have to have that desire. So when I met you back in 2022, I had that desire.
Yes.
Your number 2 point. Determination. Now, determination correlates to many things. Let's break it down. Determination simply means that we know that there is a wall that's classified as distance between us. That's something that impedes our desire to see each other as often as we should. We know that. We know that. I knew that. When I met you back
You
in
knew that from the
2022,
beginning, right?
I knew that
Mm-hmm.
from the beginning.
Yeah.
I'm looking at. I should be looking at you. Okay, so the determination has to be there. I knew that when I first laid my eyes upon you, that I was determined. Number one, I had the desire. Number two,
Yes.
I needed to be determined to be with this woman that I met. The determination
Yeah.
had to be there.
Yeah.
Up to
In
this
other
day,
words, also without the desire, you couldn't have the determination, no.
that is absolute. That is 1,000% correct.
Right.
Up to this day, 2 years later, 2024,
Yes.
the desire and determination is still there. Now, let's break it down to the third part, and I won't draw this out, and I call it the 3D vision. The number three part of this is the destination. Now, this is something that you really press
Well,
upon me a lot. Well, you have the desire, you get
okay.
determination. Okay, good. That's cool. That's cool. But what about the destination? The destination is what's the end game?
Yeah,
So you got
exactly.
the first two, but we've got to close out this game. We got to close it out. I need a closer on this. So what's the destination? Every ship, every plane, every moving vessel has to have a destination. The destination is your destination is what moves do I need to make? What plans do I need to make? What deals do I need to make to get to my final destination? Now, this is so important. And I'm telling this to my online audience as I've never told
Yeah.
before. Right now, as we are in 2024, there's a lot of things going on. There's a war going on. There are protests that are happening. Businesses are failing. There's a and there are things that are happening on a global situation
Global level. Yeah.
that's impeding our final destination. The key to this, the key to the survivability of making your end goals become reality is never give up your desire and determination. If you
Yeah.
have your desire and determination, that will push your destination
Destination.
in the
Right.
forward position, in the forward direction that it needs to go in. My
Mhm.
destination, my 3D, my end game for my 3D is to be with my significant other, which is Swany T. And I want
Crazy.
you to know that. And I know that we've gone through a lot lately, which prompted us to do this show tonight.
Yes.
The camera here, which prompted us to do this show tonight. So I just want you to
Right.
know that my desire and my determination is steadfast. It's strong.
That's beautiful.
and and it is laser focused on the destination, which is my relationship with you. So whatever we go through, whatever obstacles that we go through, that if we keep the 3D vision intact, it will lead to our happiness
Yes.
and our final destination. So I just want to share that with you.
That is very eye-opening. um because I think it's very smart, first of all, to come up with that. And at least you got a destination, at least you got a destination, you know where you're going, and that's beautiful in itself, because sometimes you find yourself a little, you're lost, you don't know exactly what are your next move, even if you have the desire, even if you have the determination, sometimes you don't do anything about it, but when you have that destination, so your path is going to be going one way, going one direction, and that's really like super important, I think, for this 3D plan, or
Vision,
a
3D.
vision, this vision that you have. But you know desire, yeah, is like essential for any relationship, I think. And there's all kinds of desires, you have like depending on what you're looking for, when you have a desire to connect, but truly connect on a really like a soul level, then I think you're going to get to number two, to determination. um Depends on your desire, you know what
It
kind of
all
desire.
works. It all works in unison. It all works together
Yeah,
as an
yeah, I
ecosystem.
like that. I like that 3D vision.
Well,
Yeah,
I was inspired by this show and by you.
right.
So thank you. So
Well,
with that being said, let's move on to our next. Again, this is going to be a late night show.
what's my next
But
question?
we're doing overtime tonight, so that's fine.
All
Uh,
right, let's do it.
okay, so it says being in a long-term relationship and with the distance is not easy. How do you cope? How do you cope? Okay,
How do you go?
that's a great question.
Yeah.
Uh, you're so I'll go first because these are your questions. Being in a long distance relationship is not easy. How do you cope? It is not easy.
That's the truth. Truth.
That's real talk. It is not easy.
Yeah.
Um, Speaking for myself, because I do have experience, because I am an ex-service member, and I have been um, disattached for so many years. It's embedded in me. I um, I focus on I focus on the in game. I focus on when I say the in game, I focus on um, um, my imagination. Um, Here's a little fun fact, and I think I've shared this before. Maybe I have an advantage over a lot of people because I grew up with a family, but I grew up living in my mind and creating images in my mind that kept me entertained. Worlds, universe.
Mhm.
I guess you could say I was kind of like a Stan Lee type of character where I've had all these different characters in my mind. And what I do
Wow.
is
Interesting.
focus on I focus on creating, I focus on writing, I focus on um, keeping myself occupied with things that are not tangible, that you can't put your hands on them, but they're all created in your mind. So I live in my mind a lot, and that's what helps me
Okay.
cope, because I live in my mind. In
That's
short,
interesting to live in your mind. But what do you mean by that? How is the coping method though working by living in your mind? Like it helps you not think of the distance, not to feel so bad. That's what it is.
that's stress. When you think about your loved one and think about the things that are happening in reality, in the real world,
Yeah.
what, and I'll give an example of that. The things that you go through
Right.
on a daily basis. The hustle and bustle, getting up in the morning, getting dressed, getting out,
Yeah.
taking transportation, getting to work, dealing with traffic, dealing with your coworkers, dealing with the things that happen throughout the day. Those are things that we all deal with, but some of those things are things that you really wish that you were there to grab your
To
partner,
share
to
and live
console
with.
them,
Yeah.
or something as simple as a hug.
Yeah. That's
Something as
true.
simple as a hug. So the fact that I may not be able to give you a hug when you need a hug, that's weight not only on you, it's weight on me as well because we reflect those feelings together as a couple.
Yeah, that's true.
It's
Yeah.
hard. But living in your mind, you live. When I say living in your mind, means that you live for better days.
Okay. So you have this scenario basically that you project a better it's not better days, but just the time where you will meet your
All this will be over,
significant other.
and we will be together.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting way, to cope. I would have to say that I'm a bit different for that. Just because we also have different personalities, and that's okay. I'm one that, although I do write a lot, so I do, all my thought process is kind of like, uh, 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 transferred, on a piece of paper, and that helps me a lot. But I'm also a very impulsive person. So my coping mechanism is going to be a little bit frustrated. It's the and that's where patience, I think, is coming in, that you really have to review that word. Like, what is patience? How do I really become this person that, can say, you have to take a step back and relax and not want things right away, because that's usually how I am.
Right.
That's just how I am. I like to make things work like right now. And I want to say, even like a purchase, if I want to buy something, I'm not going to be one to be buying on the internet. I don't have the patience for that. I want something, I'm going to go to the store and I'm going to go and get it. So I'm just I'm not saying I'm gonna be doing that, with my person, um, but it's definitely something that I had to deal with. Definitely something that I had to learn, and then the coping is gonna be a lesson. That's one of my biggest lesson, is to learn how to cope. And I'm not saying that I mastered it, because I don't think I did yet. But I'm definitely learning. I'm definitely learning. I think it's just like you said, hope, and keeping busy, trying to keep busy, trying to do the things that you love. You have family, you have work, you have all your extra things that you do, whatever you do. So continue with that. Um, and maybe, try to talk about it, about those feelings of frustration that you might have.
I agree with you 100%. I
I don't
agree.
even know if it even answers the whole question,
It
but
does.
that's
It
my
really
take
does.
on it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it really does. It really does. And just getting it off your chest
Yeah,
is effort enough, and I really
I
appreciate that.
just think, yeah, I think that everyone deals with stress or different situations in a very different way.
Right.
Maybe it comes from, how you grew up, and your coping skills, and how, but at the end of the day, I think that this 3D thing is getting back to me. When you have this 3D um locked up in your head, then you just, that's why you're there. That's why you're doing this. Get up in the morning and say, this is my person, and even the distance is not going to matter, in a way.
Right. 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 I agree with
uh,
you.
yeah, I mean, I'm going to ask you a question then.
Please.
uh, well, would you recommend this to somebody? Like,
Absolutely.
someone comes up to you and says, I met somebody, but they're very, very far away, whether it's a different country, different state.
Yes.
um is that something I should pursue?
Yes. Okay. I'm glad you asked me that. Um, the variables are important. It depends on the circumstance of both individuals. So it depends on if one party is heavily obligated towards whatever their endeavors are, where they are, then it's important for them to focus on that. If the other partner is dedicated towards or obligated towards what they have, then they have to focus on that. So it becomes a bit of a quagmire type situation where there's like so many different variables that are happening there. However,
Okay.
as a baseline, and let's just talk baseline, okay?
Yeah.
As a baseline, distance does not matter as a baseline for meeting your significant other over your life as a baseline. The complexities come into place when when other um, um, items of importance or of interest or of very important relevance are injected into the equation. You and I we
Okay.
have our own variables that are injected into our equation, which we will not share, but we have our own um, uh, um, variables that we have to work with. If if so it depends. It all
It
depends
depends.
on the individual on the individual and the individual circumstance.
Okay. Yeah.
However, as a baseline, the
Yeah.
baseline is yes. The
Yeah.
baseline.
I think it's knowing that yes, it's not going to be easy, and you're going to want that presence, and you're going to want that physical presence, on a daily basis, as you become more, involved in your relationship. But I think that especially when it's different countries, but even not, even it can be even in a different state or anything. I think that the opportunity to meet somebody else, maybe that person has a different culture, maybe that person speaks a different language, or has a different experience than you. I think that this opportunity is something that, yes, it's something very valuable, um, to to experience and to fully know that you might at the end gain uh, a life that you wouldn't know if you didn't try.
I could not agree with you more.
Great.
I'm looking at the agenda here, and we could probably talk about these items for the next 2 hours, but I'm going to cut it down short tonight. I'm going to cut it down short, but I want to say one thing before we close out the show,
Okay.
and that is um, love conquers all. That's number one. Love conquers all. Uh, you can you can you can be a couple and live a mile from each other, 1 mile. And I know you deal with kilometers, but
Right.
the the online audience deal with the miles. So
Okay.
let's just say down the street. You can live down
Yeah.
the street. You can be a couple and live down the street and not see that person for a week. Excuse me. Let me rephrase that. Let me say that one more time. You can live down the street and not see your significant other for a week, and they live
Okay.
down the street. You and I want everyone to know this that will listen to this rebroadcast, that will listen to this rebroadcast. So listen to me very carefully. The dynamic that you and I have put in play for each other, which is a very unique dynamic. And I've shared this dynamic to a selected group of people, including yourself and people that are close to us, that the key, ultimate key, that even that sits on top of the 3D vision is communication. It's
Yeah.
communication. You and I want everyone to know this, the key to
Okay.
our relationship is not necessarily it's the 3D concept, but it's communication at the end of the day. That's it. You and I communicate more
On a
than the
daily
couple
basis.
that lives a mile away. We commu- we communicate more than the couple that lives a mile away. We communicate more than the couple that lives a block away. Meaning that before our relationship was officially,
A relationship.
we had already established a relationship
Right.
because we knew everything about each other. We knew when each other were having a bad day. We knew when each other were leaving for work. We knew when each other were waking up. We knew when each other were going to bed. You are still my sunrise and my sunset.
That's
Up to this day,
it's so
you're still my
beautiful. Yeah,
sunrise and my sunset. And that's what really matters. At the end of the day, don't ask me, ask the couple who's been together for 50, 60, 70, 80 years. Ask them, and they will tell you the same thing. You need to have your partner in a constant loop of communication in which you respect them, you care about them, and they are your sunset and they are your sunrise every day. And that's what it
wow.
really matters.
That's
So,
wonderful. Yeah. That's wonderful because I know that this is happening for us. And yes, communication has been very consistent, and we are still very consistent with that. It's very open. And I think that's one of the golden, keys to a long distance relationship and any relationship that you may have.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
So, um, with that being said, this is a beautiful show. This is probably one of my best
It's
shows.
beautiful. I love it.
It's almost 2:30, and we've been going for a long time, so we can probably keep going. But
That's okay, but that show
our
was really important and
Swancentric
it
media,
goes to our heart.
our Swancentric media audience.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit misty. Our Swancentric audience, I would like to say on this repost, if you have any guidance for us, if you want additional guidance for yourself, we're always here for you. Hit us up
Absolutely. Yes, always.
in the comment section. Hit us up on Swan Strategic Media on IG,
Yep.
um, Facebook,
YouTube,
YouTube, and we'll answer your
Facebook.
questions. And maybe
Yeah.
we'll bring you on the show. You can share your story. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, and have a great evening.
You too. Bye.
And that's a show.